Next up is House File 2113. Chair Robbins, if you'd come forward, please. Again, members, we've got a lot of testifiers to this. Mr. Beishi, if you want to come up, please, to the table, and also Ms. Dreyer to the table alongside of Chair Robbins. That would be great. Again, this is an important bill. This is highlighting some small business issues that we have. We're finally able to kind of really dive into this a little bit today. Chair Robbins, welcome to the Committee of Workforce, Labor, and Economic Development. And you have House File 2113. The chair will move the House File 2113 for consideration. And to your bill, Chair Robbins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I appreciate it. I also have an A1. Should we move that first, or?
It's an A2. I think it's an A2 amendment, Chair Robbins. I think that we'd like to just get the bill in the shape you'd like to have it. With that, is there any questions from members about the A2 amendment? And then maybe you want to explain the amendment for us real quick, and then we'll move on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, members, this is a bill that will give a small exemption to our small businesses who are struggling with the Paid Family Leave Act. And the original bill would have carved out an exemption for small businesses with 50 employees or less, which is the standard for federal paid family medical leave. And in consultation with other members on the committee, we decided that was probably a bridge too far. And so in the A2, it limits it to small businesses with 15 employees or less. So that's the change in the A2.
What's that?
Oh, and it also allows, the A2, sorry, Mr. Chair,
Yep.
the A2 also allows employers to still participate. So there's an opt-in provision in the A2.
It allows the employees to opt in, so that,
Yes.
again, if an employee doesn't want to be out of it, they can still do it at their cost.
Employees
Thank you
can
very
still
much.
do it.
Members, any questions to the A2 as presented to get the bill in the shape? Seeing none, all those in favor of the A2 amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? A2 is amended, and to your bill as amended, Chair Robbins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. So this has been an ongoing conversation since the Paid Family and Medical Leave Act passed. As you know, this has always been something that small businesses have prioritized. They work with their employees regularly to manage workflow at small businesses and farms. That's just been the way small businesses have operated forever. And this bill, with a one-size-fits-all mandate that applies to every sector of the economy, every single business down to one employee, has created hardships for them to manage their workflow flexibly. And that, members, has been recognized in all the other states, most of the other states that have paid family medical leave bills. So there are 13 states that currently provide for paid family medical leave at the state level. And of those, many others have this small business exception. Delaware has an exemption, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, Rhode Island, and Maine all have small business exemptions, just like I'm proposing. And some with higher limits, some with lower limits. So I think 15 is sort of in the middle of the pack, and I think it's something that would give relief to our smallest of the small businesses and show them that we are trying to provide the flexibility they need. And Mr. Chair, one final point. My understanding from DEED is that 67% of the paid family medical leave applications that have been applied for and approved so far this year have been by employees at businesses that have 200 employees or more. So 43,000 applications. So basically, small businesses, because of a study DEED has, showed that small businesses don't use paid family leave at the same rate. Their employees don't use it at the same rate, even though they're paying in, while the large businesses have been using it at the highest rate. So I just wanted to point that out, that this is disproportionately already falling on our small businesses, and providing a little exemption for 15 employees or less, I think, is the right thing to do. Thank you, members.
And thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I appreciate you bringing this to a number that is something that we can honestly talk about here. So that's great. Certainly like to have it more. Mr. Beishi, welcome to the committee. Again, we've got a 2-minute hard stop here, so we'll keep an eye on things. Please introduce yourself and proceed.
Thank you, Chair Baker, Chair Pinto, members of the committee. For the record, my name is John Beishi. I'm the State Director for the National Federation of Independent Business in Minnesota. NFIB supports House File 2113, which would provide an exemption from the PFML mandate to some of Minnesota's smallest businesses. Our members continue to oppose the underlying mandate, and we support meaningful ways to reform it to provide relief to as many small businesses as possible. As we've interacted with our members since PFML went into effect, we have heard consistently about the burden that this program is placing on small businesses. For those who have already experienced a PFML claim, the biggest burden that is cited is the negative impact on staffing and operational disruptions. When a small business experiences a PFML claim, it is proportionately more disruptive and more difficult to absorb. The smaller the business, the higher the hit to their operational capacity. Our members have reported disruptions to workflows, increased strain on remaining employees, and a reduced ability to serve customers who rely on their goods or services. This is particularly acute in industries that depend on consistent production schedules and skilled labor. Many of these employers were already struggling to find skilled employees to begin with, and the need to find, hire, and train a replacement for the duration of an employee's leave is simply not feasible. These same employers will soon be making their first tax payments to the program on April 30th. While these deductions have been running since January, the cash flow impact of this lump sum payment will add to the cost pressures for these small businesses. We've also heard about time and money spent coming into compliance. Please remember that small businesses don't have their own dedicated HR legal departments, so they were required to navigate this largely on their own. Notably, 30% of our members who were surveyed stated that they needed to hire a third-party firm to assist with compliance, which was an additional cost that needed to be absorbed right out of the gate. And for many of our members, this is an ongoing cost. Finally, we've also heard about modifications that our members have had to make to help weather the impact of this mandate. For example, when asked about how PFML has impacted their business operations or decisions, members have cited delaying or freezing hiring, increasing prices, modifying other employee benefit pay raises, and delaying capital investment.
Thank you, Mr. Beshe. Can you wrap it up?
Thank you again. We respectfully ask the committee to support House File 2113.
Thank you so much. Welcome, Ms. Dreyer, to the table. Please introduce yourself and continue. And if Ms. Richards could come up to the table, I appreciate that. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair Baker. Members of the committee, my name is Michelle Dreyer. I am the Director of Membership and Government Affairs for the Electrical Association. The Electrical Association is a trade organization of over 250 electrical contractors located throughout the state of Minnesota. Over 90% of our members have under 50 employees. We provide support to these small businesses by offering education, effective advocacy, business supports, and a supportive community. Electrical contractors are uniquely positioned among the licensed trades to be harmfully affected by regulations under the Paid Family Medical Leave Act and licensing requirements. Apprentices must be supervised by licensed electricians of the same W-2 employer. We're limited to 2 apprentices for any licensed electrician. This means when a licensed electrician goes out on leave, on medical leave, the apprentices may need to be laid off until the licensed electrician returns. Forced layoffs put a contractor's training investment at risk, render individuals learning the trade jobless, and potentially leave a contractor at 50% staff. Projects are delayed, late penalties may be assessed, and customers are unhappy. 75% of our members have 7 electricians or less, so this is the norm, not an outlier. I thank Representative Robbins and the rest of the co-authors for this bill. It will provide my member contractors some relief for the disruption paid family medical leave has caused to the electrical workforce. While our bill allowing for supervision modifications has stalled, this will provide the relief the electrical industry needs. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dreyer. Appreciate your time. And next up would be Ms. Richards. And then on deck would be Sarah Peipenberg. If you'd come forward as well, Sarah. So Ms. Richards, if you would introduce yourself and please continue.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Lauren Richards, and along with my co-owner, Caitlin O'Neill, I am the owner of Tropes and Trifles, an independent bookstore in South Minneapolis. We currently employ 5 staff, 3 part-time and 2 full-time. We strongly oppose any changes to the Minnesota paid leave program that would create carve-outs for businesses of our size. As a small business, we cannot afford to offer paid leave on our own, but we know our employees need to be able to take time off for medical or family leave. This year, our store was in the center of Operation Metro Surge. Our staff witnessed and experienced countless acts of violence against themselves and members of our community. Some of our staff have used all their sick and safe leave time to recover from the mental health impact, as well as the physical effects of being exposed to chemical irritants, including pepper spray and tear gas, sometimes blocks from our store. Because of the ongoing effects of this violence, they need the option to take longer-term leave to recover from the health impacts on themselves and their families. I also know how important paid leave is on the employee side. My mother died from breast cancer in 2023, and I used the maximum paid leave time offered through my small business employer at that time. Prior to her death, my dad, my sister, and I alternated taking time off work to take her to medical appointments, stay with her in the hospital, and provide in-home hospice care. After she died, I took additional time to help with logistics and to grieve. While I do not wish for anyone to experience the pain of caring for a loved one dying from cancer, I want anyone in a similar situation to have the option to provide that end-of-life care without the additional fear and worry of their employment and financial situation being in jeopardy. I urge all committee members to oppose HF 2113 and allow small businesses such as mine to continue to use the invaluable resource of paid family and medical leave. We need our employees to take care of themselves and their families because at the end of the day, they are the most valuable resource that our business has.
Thank you, Ms. Richards, very much. I just want to be clear that, again, nobody would be forced out of the bill. You would have that volunteer choice. So just want to make sure that it was clear. Thank you so much for your testimony. And folks, Ms. Pippenberg is actually on Zoom with us this morning, so she's going to join us now. And then Amity Foster would come forward, please, and grab a chair. So Ms. Pippenberg, if you can hear us okay, would you please introduce yourself and proceed with your testimony? If you're speaking, we cannot hear you.
Sorry about that. I was on
There we
mute,
go.
and I couldn't figure out how to get off. Mr. Chair and Committee, I'm Sarah Piepenberg, owner of Vinaigrette in South Minneapolis. I spent 10 years testifying in support of paid leave and was thrilled when it passed. I supported the state-administered universal program and continue to do so now, precisely because it's good for business, especially small businesses. It provides affordable coverage that I have budgeted for and that I and my employees can rely on. Exempting small businesses with 15 or fewer employees would mean approximately 450,000 Minnesotans, nearly 20% of the workforce, could lose access to paid leave, which would also undermine the program by severely shrinking the pool, increasing costs for everyone else, and when families have to take leave without pay, sales at businesses like mine suffer. Furthermore, benefits start and stop based on employer filings and calendar quarter timing. Small businesses whose headcount fluctuates around the 15-employee threshold would be in peril of suddenly unexpectedly losing coverage for at least the next quarter or suddenly incurring these premiums. Workers in small businesses may plan a birth, surgery, or caregiving around expected coverage. Because the paid leave program provides salary replacement to the employee, businesses can use the employer's salary to cover costs of backfilling the position or paying overtime while they are on leave. And the state has grants to further help the smallest businesses with these costs. If small businesses and their employees lose the critical income while an employee is on leave for a major life event, small business owners will be forced to choose whether to continue to pay their employees their salary, like I did when my employee Linda got ALS, even though I had to work a second job to do so, or I guess they leave them high and dry. House File 2113's small employer opt-in is bad for employees and bad for business. Please vote no.
Thank you, Ms. Pippenberg, for your testimony today. Next up is Amity Foster, and if Kirk Martinson could come up as well to the next table. Ms. Foster, if you please introduce yourself and continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Amity Foster. I live in HD 60A, and I want to share my experience with paid family medical leave and why I believe it should apply to everyone, regardless of employee size. I never thought I would use PFML. I have PTO and sick time through my employer, but I was recently diagnosed with breast cancer and have been going through treatment for it. It's not as clear-cut as I thought it would be, and I'm going through time faster than I thought I would. Friends said, take PFML, and I'm in the application process now. I can physically work right now, but I'm a lot more tired, and the mental and emotional drain of not knowing what needs to happen, another surgery, radiation, is affecting how I am able to work. My employer is great, but that should not matter. Not having a clear treatment plan could take all of my sick time or more than I thought. PFML protects me and it protects my employer. I can take time to heal and be able to do my job at 100% when I come back. Limiting PFML to larger employers means that people will be working at half capacity or less while they could be recovering, bonding with their kids, or taking care of their family. It's not like the need for leave only applies to people who work somewhere with more than 15 employees. Providing infrastructure like PFML allows good employers to actually be good employers. Employees should not have to, and sometimes cannot, rely on the good faith of their employers. We all need it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Foster. Appreciate your time very much. Kirk Martinson, welcome to the table. If you'd introduce yourself, and if Ellery Roski could come forward to the table, that would be terrific. So go ahead, Kirk, with your testimony. Introduce yourself.
Good morning, Chair Baker and members of the committee. My name is Kirk Martinson. I'm here to testify against HF 2113 because none of us can predict the future, and nearly all of us will have a need for paid leave in our lifetimes. I knew parenthood would be an adventure, yet I never could have predicted that when my oldest child was only 2 weeks old, we'd end up in the hospital. Our very loving 100-pound Malamute picked him up gently around his stomach and carried him in her mouth through the dog door and outside. Nobody told us in our parenting classes to watch out for family dogs who want to protect the baby. She had heard the same little cry of him waking up that we did. When we didn't hear another cry, we assumed he'd gone back to sleep until my wife came back into the room and couldn't find him. We're incredibly grateful that we had both been trained lifeguards and knew CPR because we needed it. At the time, I was a graduate student and my wife ran her own business. Neither of us had parental leave. My wife juggled projects while a newborn was sleeping, and I continued to teach classes. When we suddenly found ourselves in the hospital, that became impossible. Yet we had to make it possible in order to pay the bills. 26 years later, he's a mostly healthy young adult. I'm an instructional technologist at a college, and my wife still runs her own business. We're very happy when paid leave became a reality, even though, as her voluntary CFO, it means a little more effort for me. She hasn't carried a leave policy in her 25-plus years of doing business because it hasn't been financially feasible. Minnesota's program is a very low-cost investment in a program with great benefits, unlike what is available on the open market. This bill could remove, as we've heard, over 20% of workers from the program. This is basic math and insurance 101. The smaller the number of people in the pool, the higher the costs for each person. It is the same basic premise that calls us to provide for services like firefighters and police officers in our communities. If each of us contracted individually for these services, only the wealthiest among us could afford them. We all deserve time to care for ourselves and for each other. It's made possible when we do so as a collective community. I urge you to vote against this bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony today, Mr. Martinson. Next up is Ellery Roski, and then on deck is Alexandra Fitzsimmons. So go ahead and proceed. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Baker and members of the committee. My name is Ellery Roski, and I'm a working mom of 3. My oldest is in kindergarten with after-school care. My middle is in center care a few days a week, and then I'm currently at home with my youngest 2-month-old here with me today due to this Paid Family and Medical Leave Act. I work for a small consulting company. There are currently 9 of us employees, and our company had a small parental leave policy that we paid out of pocket prior to being part of this program because it was the right thing to do. We paid employees paychecks for 6 weeks at 60% of their salary. As a small business, this was the best we could do. Thanks to Minnesota, being able to offer an additional 6 weeks is a huge benefit to an employee like me. Additionally, the percentage that our company pays into the program is a small fraction of what we would have paid out of pocket. This year, the company will pay about $300 in premiums for me. The old plan would have cost us about $4,800. Offering a benefit like paid family leave keeps women like me in the workforce. I feel valued by my current company because we have a policy that says we know working moms have a lot to contribute to the workplace. Moms are flexible. Our plans change about 3 times a day. I was going to be here at 8:15 and I got to be here at 9 instead. It meant I got another hour of sleep. Thank you. We also know how to deal with challenging clients. Parents of any 3-year-old know that we have an increased patience and tolerance for irrational requests. House File 2113 would allow about 450,000 workers to be cut from this program. Excluding that many workers would cause costs to rise dramatically and destabilize the program. As an employee of a small business, I'm asking you to stop trying to kill this invaluable program by constantly seeking to exclude more workers. All Minnesotans and all Americans, I think, deserve paid family leave. Most Minnesotans are more than happy to pay a little so that we can all benefit. I urge you not to pass House File 2113. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roski, for your testimony. Thanks for bringing in the little one, too. That's great. Next up is Ms. Fitzsimmons. Welcome. And then next up will be on Zoom, Justin Ziskut. So, Ms. Fitzsimmons, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Alexandra Fitzsimmons, and I'm the Senior Policy Director with Children's Defense Fund Minnesota. And I'm here today to speak in strong opposition to House File 1213, which weakens a critical child well-being program, paid family and medical leave. In the first weeks after birth, infants are forming relationships that shape their development. Through everyday interactions, being held, fed, soothed, and responded to, babies build the neural pathways that support safety, trust, and early brain development. During this period, responsive, consistent caregiving is essential for healthy brain growth, physical development, and long-term well-being. This early parent-caregiver-infant bond and the healthy growth this relationship supports is exactly what is at stake in this bill. Under this bill, an estimated 450,000 Minnesotans, nearly 20% of the workforce, as you've already heard, would lose access to paid leave. Many of these Minnesotans are in the stage of life when they are starting families and raising young families, including having and caring for young children during this critical period of development. Studies show paid family leave is associated with reductions in infant mortality, and in some cases, up to a 50% decrease in infant rehospitalization in that first year of life. Paid leave also leads to higher rates of timely vaccinations and well-child visits, ensuring babies get the early care they need. In addition to these physical health benefits, paid leave also plays a critical role in supporting maternal mental health during the postpartum period. We are already seeing how essential this support is to Minnesotans. More than 18,000 bonding applications for paid family and medical leave have already been approved in Minnesota, illustrating that many families are actively relying on this program during the earliest weeks and time of their children's lives. This should be good news. Exempting small businesses would weaken the core purpose of this program by tying access to employer size rather than family need, and as a result, a significant number of Minnesota families would be left without access during this critical period. From a child well-being and healthy development perspective, this bill does not advance Minnesota's goal of ensuring every infant has the strongest possible start in life. Please oppose this bill.
Thank you, Ms. Fitzsimmons, very much for your testimony. Appreciate you being here. Justin, if you are online, I'll have you unmute yourself, and if you can join us. And then next up, I'm going to have Lars Negsgaard come up to the table, please. So, Justin, you're on if you can unmute yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of House File 2113. My name is Justin Jiskut. I have been the owner of Sundance Auto Repair in Marshall, Minnesota for the past 10 years. I have 3 full-time employees, that's including myself, and 1 part-time employee as an intern. The PFML mandate that was put into effect in January is unworkable for my business. If either of my employees takes 20 weeks off, that puts their entire workload on me and my other employees. 20 weeks is a little over a third of the year. What if both of my employees take the leave at the same time? How would my business of this size last? It is already extremely difficult to find qualified technicians. I've been trying to hire another technician for 3 years with no luck. Hiring someone to cover my tech's workload while gone would prove to be almost an impossible task. What if my receptionist left for 20 weeks? I can't just hire someone to take that spot, train them in, and then send them on their way when my receptionist comes back. I only have 1 position in that role. No matter which way you look at it, the losses of even 1 employee severely impacts the ability of my business to operate at full capacity. The bottom line is small businesses have much more difficult time absorbing the loss of single employees. For employers with 5 employees, losing just 1 employee for 20 weeks results in a 20% hit to the capacity of that business. And the workload now needs to be covered by the 4 other people in that business. That is a huge impact. Then comes the fact that I have to pay the payroll tax on this program for myself. Why? I'll never be able to use it. The money that I am forced to give out, my own paycheck, will never get back to me. I save money for myself for things that arise in my life. I don't need the government to do it for me. This is the problem with government programs in the private business sector. They can't take all businesses into account and make them work for everyone. Individuals need to make plans for themselves, not the government doing it for them. In closing, I strongly urge you to support HF 2113 to provide a little bit more flexibility for small businesses like mine in Minnesota. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Justin, for your testimony this morning. Lars, Negstad is up next, and then if I could have Lauren Schothorst come forward too, you would be on deck. Welcome, Lars.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and members of the committee for the opportunity to once again testify on paid family leave, my favorite topic to talk about. First of all, I want to give credit to Representative Robbins for the amendment, which does shrink the impact of this bill significantly. As originally written, the bill would have carved out over 1 million Minnesota workers, or about 40% of the workforce. This amendment language brings it down to only around 450,000 Minnesotans. However, her characterization of the amendment is not how the amendment reads. On the first page, lines 1.15, it reads small employer election of coverage. And I'm not a lawyer, but pretty clearly says that employers have the power to opt in or opt out of the program. So workers don't really have that choice. So really quick, 4 quick points. A person's access to paid leave should not depend on the goodwill of their employer. I'm sure all the good employers in the room, a lot of good employers in the state are doing everything they can to take care of their employees, but that's not always the case, and we shouldn't leave it up to only the employer. Second, paid leave is a social insurance program. This bill would significantly shrink the pool and potentially destabilize the program and increase costs for everyone. Third, the bill would add administrative complexity and confusion for workers, employers, and the paid leave administration. We haven't heard that talked about yet today, but I believe it would be very unworkable to implement. Fourth, this bill would create opportunities for employers to game the system by employing such tactics as misclassifying workers, reducing hiring, creating separate entities, and probably a bunch of other ways. So simply put, this bill would put a lot more power in the hands of employers to the detriment of employees, and you have a simple choice in front of you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Lars, for your testimony today. Appreciate that. Next up is Lauren Schothorst. If you could introduce yourself, Lauren, please. Welcome back. And then Joel Hansen and Steve Gardner will be on deck. Thank you. Go ahead, Lauren.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Lauren Schothorst with the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce, a statewide business organization representing more than 6,300 businesses and over 500,000 employees throughout Minnesota. A majority of our members are small to mid-sized businesses. Making needed adjustments to the state's new paid family medical leave mandate is top of mind for the state's business community. Our members believe that you must address the operational challenges for both employers and employees to ensure that the program is balanced, functional, cost-controlled, and responsive to workplace dynamics. We support House File 2113, exempting super small employers from this onerous mandate while retaining their access to the program by enabling the opt-in. We also support the upcoming bill fixing the definition of seasonal employee under the law, and we'd further recommend the bipartisan and bicameral bill that Chair Baker and Senator Frentz have introduced, House File 2962, which encapsulates these and other modifications requested by the business community, including the previous testimony you heard about the individual employee's ability to opt in to the program. As you recently heard from the results of our paid family medical leave impact survey of nearly 700 business leaders, HR departments, and employees from across the state, the feedback was quite representative of the small Main Street business perspective, with 40% of respondents having fewer than 10 employees and 78% having fewer than 100 employees. Those respondents described the paid leave experience so far as negative, stating that this program was, in fact, not designed for small employers. Employers are also surprised by the negative employee reactions to this mandate, namely the payroll tax on their wages, and many workers themselves want to opt out. The core takeaway is that employers aren't hysterically debating the idea of paid leave. They're describing a costly mandate that was forced upon them, that is an administrative nightmare, and most disruptive for small and seasonal organizations. A one-size-fits-all mandate doesn't benefit everyone equally. It disproportionately negatively impacts our small businesses who have repeatedly asked for flexibility and choice. With this bill, Minnesota small businesses can choose to opt into this program if it suits their needs. Likewise, employees should also have the option to choose in to a wage replacement product should it suit their needs. This should have been the plan all along. We urge the committee to support House File 2113 and other bills that make reasonable modifications to this mandate before it gets too far out of alignment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Schothorst, for bringing that to us. Next up is Joel Hansen and Steve Gardner, the ABC. And then next on deck will be Andy Wilkie from the Greater Mankato Growth. So welcome. Joel, it looks like you're going to go first.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Baker, Chair Pinto, and members of the committee. Appreciate the opportunity to testify in support of House File 2113. My name is Joel Hansen. I'm Director of Government and Public Affairs with Associated Builders and Contractors. We're a construction industry trade group with 350 members across the state of Minnesota that employ over 20,000 men and women in the construction industry. Just as a reminder to the committee, the construction industry is unique as it relates to paid family medical leave. Employees are able to negotiate through a collective bargaining agreement a waiver to paid family medical leave. However, that applies to only roughly 20% of the private construction industry. And so without further ado, I'll let you hear from a member of ours, Steve Gardner with Wilmer Electric, who represents 80% of the industry.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Welcome, Mr. Gardner. Please introduce yourself and continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Steve Gardner. I'm the Vice President of Operations for Wilmer Electric, a member of the Associated Builders and Contractors. The Associated Builders and Contractors has 146 firms that would be affected by this legislation, and makes up 42% of our businesses are small businesses. The construction industry operates on one simple principle: on time, under budget. Many of these firms are highly specialized and experience shortage of skilled workers, with some limited by supervisory rules set by this legislature, as Mr. Iyer pointed out earlier. And what she means by that is the journeyman to apprentice relationship. We operate primarily on fixed price contracts with no ability to pass along the cost of overtime or temp labor associated with the impact of losing members to paid family medical leave. We have no ability to pass that along to our customer unless we bid that into our price before we get the job. We're already operating on slim margins because we do operate in a competitive bid environment. Many of our contracts require us to sign on for liquidated damages. Liquidated damages adversely impact construction firms if we do not finish our projects on time or under budget. The paid family medical leave puts jobs at risk for apprentices. Our apprentices are new to the construction field and come at a time when we need people in the trades. If we lose a journeyman to paid family medical leave, we run the risk of laying our apprentices off because those apprentices must be supervised by a licensed journeyman. We cannot simply bring in a temp person to supervise them. Paid family medical leave, while I believe is well-intentioned and designed to take care of people, we believe the best way to take care of people is having a firm for them to come back to once they come off of paid family medical leave. They cannot come back to a firm that is out of business because we simply cannot operate without employees. Thank you for considering House File 2113.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner and Mr. Carlson. Appreciate you coming in. Mr. Wilkie, thank you to joining us today from Greater Mankato Growth. Please introduce yourself. Mary Schaffler will be on Zoom with us, and she'll be on deck. So, Mr. Wilkie, welcome.
Thank you, Chair and members. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Andy Wilkie. I serve as the Executive Vice President of Greater Mankato Growth, the Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development organization in the Greater Mankato region. I'm here to express our support for House File 2113. Greater Mankato Growth represents hundreds of employers across South Central Minnesota, many of them small businesses with fewer than 15 employees. These employers care deeply about their workers and want to do right by them. One small business owner recently told me, we support paid leave, but when one person is out, there often isn't anyone to step in. In today's labor market, we simply can't find temporary help to fill the gap. The challenge is real. When a small business loses one employee for an extended period, it can mean longer hours for coworkers, delayed orders, and turning away work altogether. Not because the employer doesn't value their employees, but because they don't have the scale or staffing flexibility to absorb this disruption. We fully recognize and share the legislature's goal of ensuring workers can care for themselves and their families without risking their livelihoods. At the same time, it's important to acknowledge that policies designed for large employers can have very different impacts on small businesses, especially in greater Minnesota. House File 2113 offers a balanced and thoughtful solution by exempting employers with 15 or fewer employees while still allowing them to opt in voluntarily. The bill preserves worker protections while reducing the risk of unintended harm to small employers and their employees. For those reasons, Greater Mankato Growth respectfully encourages the support of 2113. Thank you for your time and consideration.
And thank you, Mr. Wilkie, for your time. Mary Schaffler is on Zoom, and then also on deck will be Wendy Anderson, also joining us by Zoom. Ms. Schaffler, if you could unmute yourself and proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony to support the House File 2113. My name is Mary Schaffler, and I'm one of the owners of Salient Incorporated. Salient Incorporated is a young, small, niche S corporation, only in business for 7 years. We manufacture specialty cutting tools for primarily the medical industry, but aerospace, firearms, and many other businesses. Our tools are not tools you can purchase in a catalog. They are all custom-built, custom-designed cutting tools. We have 6 full-time employees, 2 office workers. Both of us are the S Corp owners. We are paying into the PFML benefit, but we will most likely never be able to use it. We hired a new college graduate who is training to become a CNC grinding operator, and we have 3 very good CNC grinding operators. The operator position is a highly skilled position that is not taught in any schools. This is a position learned on the job. It's a position that takes at least 1 full year to train a person to do the basics of the tool grinding skills. If any of our employees were on leave of absence for a length of time, we would not be able to meet our customer deadlines. With only 3 CNC grinding operators and 1 being trained, it would leave us with no choice but to shut down the company because it would not be affordable to stay in business and we could never meet the customer deadlines. We are already operating as lean as we possibly can. The uncertainty PFML is causing my small company is that if 1 employee, a seasoned grinder, 1/3 of our production operators, were to take 12 to 20 weeks leave, our remaining 2 operators could not make up the 40 hours of lost time each week. This would be a big burden. We would not be able to fill the position on such short notice. And it's unreasonable and unhealthy to expect other people to work 60 to 80 hours a week.
Ms. Schaffler, I need to wrap up. Thank you.
One moment, please. Not to mention the cost of paying overtime. Our employees are paid very well. Overtime typically adds up to $50 or more an hour, and it adds up quickly. To have the opportunity to opt out of PFML would allow us to remain competitive and stay in business in Minnesota.
Thank you, Ms.
Please help
Schaffler.
small businesses like mine to remain in business and not be forced to submit payments to a benefit that could potentially hurt or even eliminate our small company.
Thank you, Ms. Schaffler.
again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your testimony today. Wendy Anderson, if you could please unmute yourself and join us, and then Megan Horsager would be on deck next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing me the opportunity to provide testimony in support of House File 2113. My name is Wendy Anderson. We are a pump and blower distributor with a dedicated repair department. We've been in business for over 70 years, serving industrial and municipal customers, and we have 15 team members. I'm here to express my concerns about PFML program and the real impact on small businesses now that is in effect. The compliance requirements tied to this program are overwhelming for small businesses. The reporting, tracking, and monitoring expectations at a level of administrative complexity that we're not equipped to handle. Unlike large employers, small businesses do not have dedicated HR teams, payroll departments, or benefits administrators. In many cases like ours, one person's responsible for accounts receivable, accounts payable, payroll, HR, benefits, operations, just to name a few. Adding PFML compliance to that workload is not sustainable for us. It took us over 6 months of ongoing coordination with our payroll provider to get the tax deductions properly implemented, time that is not simply available when I'm personally already working over 10 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week, managing all aspects of our business. The financial impact of the cost of the program goes far beyond the required contributions. We are already seeing increased expenses related to compliance, administration, and the legal guidance. When ESST went into effect, we spent thousands of dollars in legal fees just trying to understand and document that program to be in compliance. And with PFML, we expect those costs to be even higher. We've actually been referred to our lawyer by the state of Minnesota in regard to understanding the program. So those costs add to small businesses. We also know that similar programs in other states have required billions in funding. That raises serious concerns about long-term sustainability and the likelihood of increasing cost over time for this program. The operational impact is immediate and real. We recently hired a new employee to replace a retiring team member and quickly learned that that new hire already plans to take the leave. It takes 1 to 2 years for us to train employees, so it's just time that we don't have.
Ms. Anderson, if you could wrap
Ms.
Anderson, if you could wrap it up, that'd be great.
Okay. So I guess the biggest thing is for us is we have no safety net. We cannot easily redistribute the work or bring in temporary replacements without significant cost and disruption to our business.
All right. Thank you. I got to go. Thank you so much for that, Ms. Anderson. Appreciate your time. Again, this is tough to kind of manage the clock today, but I appreciate that very much. Ms. Horsager, if you are also online, I appreciate that. And again, reminding 2 minutes is what we're looking at. So go ahead.
Hi, I'm Megan, and I farm in western Minnesota. Our farm is a small family farm, and we have found the best way to structure our farm. My dad and I are owners, and then my mother is an employee. And prior to paid family leave, my mother was allowed to take off whatever days she wanted for any reason. And so in addition to the very unnecessary financial burden this has caused our operation, I'm going to echo what Wendy said of the administration. On our farm, I am the HR department, and I am not an HR expert. I have already put in a very disproportional amount of time in trying to understand this program, and I still feel like I am questionably in compliance. I am not an expert at this, and it's been a huge burden. I've looked at outsourcing to an HR firm, but that is a huge financial burden, and as a very cash poor beginning farmer, that's just not something that's realistic on our operation. And in addition to that, my mother is not a typical W-2 employee. We pay her with commodity wages, and no one's even been able to tell me how I'm supposed to implement this program in that situation. And so it's been a lot of frustration for a program we're never going to use. And so I really support this bill and an exemption for small business. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Horsager. Appreciate your testimony. And finally on the list is Jake Vlamic, also on Zoom. Jake, if you could go ahead, introduce yourself and continue. Jake, do you want to unmute yourself?
Sorry, little technology challenges. So my name is Jake Vlamic. I want to thank for the opportunity to speak today in support of this House Bill, House File 2113. My family and I, we run a small turkey farm just south of Wilmer. My father-in-law and my brother-in-law and myself, we own and operate the business and are the majority we're the shareholders. So including the three of us, we have a total of 10 people on our payroll. Half are full-time, the other half are retired people who want to keep busy, or other people who just want to help out while they work their other full-time jobs. We all work closely with one another, we communicate, and we provide great benefits for our employees, including health care, which is fully covered by the company at cost, company matches to retirement funds, health care savings, and we also have a generous paid time off program. So my biggest concern with this program for our small company is that it's going to place a faceless government entity in between me and my employees when we can work together on issues that we don't need a government entity to try and tell us how it's going to work. I don't see any benefit to this program. In fact, it's actually have placed 4 more liability accounts on my payroll that I have to keep track of now. And being a small farmer, I spend as little time in the office as possible. I like to be out working the farm, working with the turkeys, and working with the employees one-on-one. So this has forced me to not only engage with an HR firm to help manage this process, it's also more paperwork for my CPA, which is, again, more fees that we have to then pay. Another cost of business, I guess, in Minnesota, it's forcing us to participate in a program that we will never be able to benefit from. I understand other people want our funds to be in there because they're afraid the program will collapse without our participation. But I'm buying insurance for a program I will never be able to participate in. And so if that were the case in the private industry, I would just cancel that policy if it's not something I need. So I thank you for your time, and I ask you support House File 2113.
Thank you, Mr. Vlamic. I appreciate your testimony today. That ends our testimony. To member questions. Representative Greenman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I have a question for the author just about how this bill will work, because I see that, you know, when we talk about businesses with under 15 employees, we're talking about 450,000 Minnesotans, so 20% of the workforce. And if in one of those, if I work for a business under 15 that has not opted into the program under your bill, would I be able to get paid family medical leave if I wanted it?
Chair Robbins.
Thank you, Representative Greenman. So my understanding of the amendment is that the employer does have to opt in to participate, and then employees can opt in. And so it says, upon the approval of the commissioner, so the an employer with 15 or fewer employees may file in a format prescribed, blah, blah. They may, their employees of that employer are then entitled to enter benefits. So the employer under the amendment opts in. So I would be very happy to have a separate amendment to say employees individually, regardless of their employer choosing to opt in, that the employees themselves can opt in. Because I think both are absolutely important. Because some people do want it and need it. But my understanding, honestly, is that that is not true in how Colorado does it, is that employees may opt in. To the point you're saying, employers don't have to for employees to be able to opt in. And in Maine, employees, they also exempt small businesses, but they allow employees to opt in. So there's a model out there, and if that's the preferred model versus saying the employer opts in, I'm totally fine with that. So that's how Colorado and Maine currently do it, and I would be happy to entertain an amendment on that, or if you lay it over to work on that. But the point, I think, is that we need the flexibility. So I think the testifiers have spoken to that very well. Most of the other states that have paid family leave have recognized the complexity and hardship on these very small businesses, and they've provided this exemption. And we would be just in line with what other states have been doing. But to your point, if we want to create an employee opt-in, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Thank you, Chair. And I think I misspoke earlier to Representative Greenman too, that the employees could opt in. I think it was not specific to that. That's my call. That's my mistake. Thank you for clarifying that. And you're right. We would be happy to certainly that amendment. So back to you.
And I know we're tight on time, so I will just turn my next question into a comment, because that the way that it's currently drafting is an employer. If an employer doesn't opt in, not only would the employee, if they would want PFML, can't opt in, they would be in a worse position than an independent contractor who, under the bill we passed, can opt in. And the thing that matters to me is we've been talking about this. We have seen in this committee bill after bill creating carve-outs about PFML. And the fact that nobody thought about the employees who would want to opt in, that was not factored in here, is a huge concern. And so when I think about what this bill is, we should put workers at the center of our policymaking, which means if any worker or workers' rights organization would have, and I think that that's what we heard, would have looked at this, that's what they have said. So to me, one, this bill isn't ready for prime time, but two, after 2 years of sitting in this committee, seeing folks try to carve out workers, it is clear to me what this is about is trying to give power and decision-making exclusively to employers, and not all the small businesses that we heard wanted this, but to a set of employers. We've seen the chamber over and over and over again in this committee. And so what I wish that in this committee, we focused workers, and the workers, the 450,000 Minnesotans who will lose access to this benefit if this bill passes. So, Mr. Chair, this is a no for me.
Thank you. Representative Mueller. Members, I'm going to try to wrap this up in about another 10 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Baker, and thank you, Chair Robbins, for bringing the bill. I just so happened, without anyone really knowing that this bill was coming up, I just so happened to receive an email from one of my business owners, from one of my job creators. And one of the reason why we talk about job creators so much is because without those jobs, without that person having that business, there are no jobs then. And so that's why it's really important. We want to value both because we understand the value of both, and we have to understand that they are creating jobs. And I just wanted to read this part. And the business owner didn't give me permission to state his name, and so I wanted to just said, I am he says that we've had a job opening since the beginning of January, but nothing. The powers that be at state say everyone should be happier with ESST and paid family medical leave. Well, I'm not. We are in rural Minnesota, and I can't keep raising prices. I will price out 50% of our clients or more. I won't take out any more loans. Why would I continue to throw money away? I should be happy, but I have to limit my services because we only have 5 staff plus me. I don't have time to do everything. And then he says, I'm done. The Democrat trifecta and Walz has won. They have beaten me. I truly don't care anymore, and that makes me hurt even more. And so there are plenty of other people like my friend here who are asking for what you are providing in this bill. And so with that, Mr. Chair, I'm a yes.
Thank you. Representative Pete Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair Robbins, for bringing this discussion. I'll be brief and just make it a comment. We heard a lot from testifiers about what happens when somebody uses paid leave. It's devastating for it could be potentially devastating for their business to lose somebody for up to 20 weeks. I want to refocus a little bit on that, on what that means for the employee. Like, if you are qualified for a medical leave, you had a serious medical issue, or somebody you cared deeply about had a serious medical issue. Or you had a birth of a child and you want a amount of time to bond with that child. I mean, we talk about a bunch of other pieces with that. So I just want to refocus on the people that are impacted by that part as well, and remind people, and like we talked about this last session, but remind people that people have been getting injured, they've been getting sick, they've lost loved ones, they've been having kids long before paid family medical leave went into effect. So if those businesses were fortunate enough that none of those things ever happened to their employees, that's great. But there's a lot of people that had to make really hard choices, or lost jobs, or weren't able to spend time with their loved ones, or weren't able to heal and recover properly, weren't able to spend time with new babies prior to this law, and this gives them a little bit of a window to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Representative Wayne Johnson, final member.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Representative Robbins, for bringing this flexibility bill forward. As a small business, you know that flexibility is everything. That's what you start off, and that's the only way you can succeed, and that's what this bill does. We also recognize that most businesses start as small businesses with the goal of becoming a big business. And as you grow your business, you can start providing more benefits. We all know Best Buy provides more benefits than somebody that just working that's 2 people and stuff like that. So the goal is there. One of the things that continues to amaze me here is the desire and the mandates that are put on businesses that make people decide not to start businesses. And we are seeing those effects by a recent report that came out that Minnesota now is towards the bottom in percentage of new businesses starting. Near the bottom, like 6th from the bottom now. So that means businesses or people looking to buy a business have now realized there's too many mandates, too many costs, too many headaches to start. And so I'd just like to say to those who believe and continue to want to put mandates on business to stop businesses from even starting or succeeding, congratulations, it's working out for you. Thank you.
Representative Mecklen, did you have a quick comment?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair Baker. I believe it's Mr. Gardner who touched on this. So I understand that the position that some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle don't have the same thought process we do about the hardships for the employers. But there is one sector that is currently being affected by this, and that is these apprentice electricians. Because no part of them asked for this to suddenly be put on unemployment because somebody wanted to exercise the benefit of paid family medical leave. And we've been trying to figure this out, but that is literally 2 people who get stuck on unemployment for up to 12 weeks, or potentially even longer. And their whole goal is to get their 8,000 hours in to get to that journeyman test, which if this happened to them every year for 12 weeks, it would be a 5-year plan instead of a 4. This has to be addressed, and with that, Chair Baker, I ask for a roll call.
Thank you. Roll call has been requested. See no other member
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, yeah.
I thought you took it off.
I'm sorry. I was telling you I didn't have to be right away.
Chair Pinto, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. So a couple things. So Representative Mecklen, you used the phrase people who want to exercise the benefit. I think that if somebody has a new baby, they want to exercise the benefit. They want to be with that new baby. We heard powerful testimony about the child development benefits and bonding, which just makes sense when a parent is with a young child. Otherwise, you don't want to exercise the benefit because it means that you're seriously ill or somebody you care about is seriously ill and you needed to care for them. So I think we sort of have to reframe and rethink this. I had heard repeatedly comments made about multiple states exempting small businesses. I don't think that's correct. And I wonder if we have Commissioner Rowe come up, and I can ask the question as he comes up, Mr. Chair, to save time.
Yeah, very briefly, if you can come up quickly.
Yeah, I know we want to keep moving. And just if you could briefly say, Commissioner Rowe, like, what is the situation? Representative Robbins laid out a number of states that she said exempt small businesses. That's not consistent with my understanding. So can you just say sort of what other states exempt small businesses in this way?
Mr. Rowe, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Chair Pinto. To our knowledge, the only state that has some sort of carve-out for small employers is Delaware, which allows that for up to, I think, employers up to 10 employees. I've got Colorado's website pulled up. I heard that one was noted, and just quoting from that, small employers are not, with fewer than 10 employees, are not required to pay the employer contribution to the program. However, they still need to withhold the employee contribution, and their staff and their employees are eligible for the program. So I think there are some states that exempt small employers from paying premiums under that. Minnesota has a small employer premium rate that is a reduced premium rate. But again, to our knowledge, Colorado covers all workers. Maine covers all workers. Rhode Island covers all workers. There may be differences in premium rates for small employers, as there is here in Minnesota. But again,
Well, and to that, I just want to comment too. There's been, with the other 12 states that I've certainly examined as well, a lot of them have different carve-outs for different things. It could be small business. It could be the employer, like Mr. Rowe said, the employer's not paying the payroll tax. The employee would pay 100% of it. There's some that have exempted school employees. And so there's a lot of different versions of it out there, but there are carve-outs in other states. Yeah. I want to make that clear. Go ahead, Mr. Pinto.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chair Pinto.
I guess the fact is, though, that despite the assertions, there's only one state, I don't know what's going on with Delaware, but all the other states that have this, in fact, if you work at a small business, you're included. And maybe so, Representative Robbins, and thank you, Commissioner, I don't think I'll need you again. Representative Robbins, I don't think you'd be saying, but please clarify this, that somebody who works at a small business is less likely to need that powerful bonding time with their child grows up more quickly or something, or that they are less likely to get sick, or I assume that's not the drive behind this. So can you just, why would somebody at those small businesses need that benefit less, or is there something else behind that?
Chair Robbins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And first, if you might allow me to just comment on the other piece of it. So my understanding, and my research could be wrong, so I appreciate Commissioner being here and you raising this, but my understanding is that in Delaware, they are fully exempt for small businesses, and there's some allowance for people with 10 to 24 employees being allowed to take parental leave only, but it's nuanced, and that the exemption applies to 25 and under. In Oregon, well, I could go through this, but I just want you to know I did do research, and the sources I found said it differently. So
Okay.
we can maybe have staff look at that later on.
Sure.
And then to your larger point, of course, Mr. Chair, everyone who wants the leave should be able to access it with the right provisions for meeting the needs of the business as well. The employer-employee sort of social contract has existed for millennia, and they have always found ways to work it out. And my dad owned a funeral home, a small business, and I saw firsthand how, and we've heard stories from other small businesses, they bend over backwards to help their employees. And they find very creative solutions to keep people on the job, to help them when they have needs in their family life or in their personal life. And I saw that firsthand, and I think that's how most of the small businesses operate. And to the extent that my dad, honestly, would create jobs for people, part-time jobs, when sort of we were from a mining community. The mines closed down. All of a sudden, my dad had 3 new part-time employees because he was trying to help people keep their families alive. We had an employee who passed away suddenly from a heart attack. His widow had a young child. He created a opportunity for her to answer the funeral home phones, even though we probably didn't really need that help. You know, so there are examples all over the place of how small businesses try to help their employees. But I would remind this body that when this bill first was considered in 2023, we had an alternative that was fully allowing employees to opt in to a paid family leave program, like an insurance product similar to disability, and that would have allowed employees to have the option to participate in something like that, but it wouldn't have created a 400-person new bureaucracy at DEED, it wouldn't have been a one-size-fits-all mandate, and it wouldn't have cost the state of Minnesota all this money, and it preserved flexibility. Not all employees want this. If you're in a certain stage of life, you may not think you need parental leave. But so the bill we had back in 2023 would have allowed employees to be the driver and would have provided flexibility without a one-size-fits-all mandate. And I would also submit, members, that our program in the generous benefits set for both the personal paid leave and for the caregiving side far exceeds what some of these other states have, where they do give the exemption for a small business. So I think we need to look at the level of the benefits we have mandated and maybe think about how we're managing that, as well as giving flexibility to employees to opt in. So I think we can find a solution, members, that works for everyone. And maybe my bill isn't it, but we need to give more flexibility for small businesses, for seasonal and part-time employees. This is so onerous, and it is hurting people's ability to keep their businesses afloat.
And thank you for that. I'm going to wrap it up, Mr. Chair. So I'm going to, closing comments. Chair Robbins, please.
I think that can suffice, members. I appreciate the opportunity. I think it's been a very good conversation, and I'm happy to look at an amendment that would allow employees to opt in. I really think preserving flexibility for our smallest employers, like other states have recognized as important, is the path forward. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. The chair requests a roll call on this vote, too. We're going to go ahead and take a vote on House File 2113 as presented, as amended, to be carried to the Committee on Ways and Means. Clerk will take the roll. Chair votes aye.
Chair Pinto.
No.
Vice Chair Meckland.
Aye.
Vice Chair Greenman.
No.
Representative Bakeberg.
Yes.
Representative Berg.
No.
Representative Frazier. Representative Hussein.
No.
Representative Johnson Pete.
No.
Representative Johnson Wayne.
Aye.
Representative Kozlowski.
Gawain, no.
Representative Mueller.
Mueller votes yes.
Representative Schultz.
Yes.
Representative Zalesnikar.
Selesnikar, aye.
Seeing 7 ayes and 6 nays, the bill does not move forward. It'll be laid over for further consideration. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, to bring this bill forward.